Did you know there is a country in South America where most roads simply lead nowhere? A land where over 90% of the territory is covered by dense, unexplored rainforest, home to isolated tribes and ancient legends of lost cities? In today's episode of World No Filter, we're going to explore the fascinating Suriname. Want to join us on a journey full of discoveries, fun, and surprising content? Subscribe to our channel by clicking here and never miss another video. Suriname is one of those places that defy logic and expectations. Small in size but immense in history and cultural diversity, it remains unknown to most people, even though it is located on one of the most explored continents in the world. Precisely for that reason, its cultural, geographical, and historical richness deserves to be unveiled. In this video, we will embark on a fascinating journey through this enigmatic country. We will explore its lush landscapes, its striking colonial heritage, the communities that still live in isolation, and the real-life events that unexpectedly put Suriname on the map. Get ready to discover one of South America's best-kept secrets. Suriname may be small in territory, but its uniqueness makes it one of the most fascinating countries in South America. Situated between Brazil, Guyana, and French Guiana, this country stands out not only because of its location but also due to its unique geography and culture. Unlike other South American nations, its identity is heavily influenced by its Dutch colonial past, something reflected in the official language, the architecture, and even the country's legal system. However, its essence goes far beyond that. What is most striking about Suriname is how much nature dominates its territory. With approximately 90% of its surface covered by tropical rainforest, it is one of the most ecologically preserved countries on the planet. This abundance of green areas shelters an astonishing biodiversity, including rare species of plants and animals such as jaguars, monkeys, and a myriad of exotic birds. For nature lovers and ecotourism enthusiasts, Suriname represents an untouched paradise where grand rivers cut through dense forests, creating breathtaking landscapes. Another surprising aspect is the absence of an extensive road network. Unlike most of its neighboring countries, much of Suriname is inaccessible by land. Travel by boat or plane is necessary to reach many regions. As a result, some areas remain practically isolated, preserving ancient customs and tribes that continue to live far from contact with modern civilization. This isolation, while limiting economic development in certain areas, helps keep the country's cultural and environmental authenticity alive. Suriname also stands out for its ethnic diversity. The population, approximately 600,000 people, is made up of a blend of indigenous peoples, Africans, Indians, Javanese, and European descendants. This mixture of cultures is reflected in the cuisine, religious traditions, and local festivities. Different ethnic groups coexist while maintaining their own customs, resulting in a socially plural and enriching environment. The cities, although small, have a vibrant atmosphere. The capital, Paramaribo, preserves colonial wooden buildings that tell the story of the country's Dutch past. The historic center of the city has been recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and its streets blend European tradition with Caribbean influences, creating a truly unique setting. Local markets are a reflection of this diversity, offering everything from spicy Indian dishes to traditional African and Javanese delicacies. Another fascinating aspect of Suriname is its relationship with water. Some coastal areas lie below sea level, requiring the construction of dikes and drainage systems similar to those found in the Netherlands. This geographical detail shows how Dutch heritage went beyond culture and became deeply rooted even in the country's engineering. With so many contrasts and peculiarities, Suriname remains one of the most intriguing destinations in South America, a place where nature, history, and cultural diversity meet in a unique way, making it a true hidden gem on the continent. For those seeking an authentic experience far from traditional tourist routes, this small country offers an unforgettable journey full of surprises. Although Dutch is the official language due to the country's colonial past, English and Sranan-Tongo, Surinamese, are widely spoken, creating a dynamic linguistic environment. This mix not only facilitates communication, but also highlights the influence of different peoples in shaping the nation. Suriname's journey is a narrative of struggle, resilience, and cultural preservation. Colonized in the 17th century by the Dutch, the country quickly became an important center for sugar, coffee, and cocoa plantations. However, this wealth was built on the suffering of thousands of Africans who were brought to work as enslaved laborers. The brutality of this system led many to escape into the interior of the country, forming independent communities known as Maroons. The Maroons were responsible for one of the greatest acts of resistance to colonialism in South America. They established self-sufficient settlements deep in the forest, developing their own traditions, a unique blend of African and indigenous influences. Many of these communities still exist today, preserving their languages, spiritual practices, and a way of life that has remained nearly intact for centuries. One of Suriname's most significant historical milestones was the abolition of slavery in 1863. However, the transition was not immediate. For 10 years following abolition, former enslaved people were forced to continue working on plantations under a temporary servitude system, preventing them from achieving full freedom right away. This post-slavery period profoundly shaped Surinamese society, leading to a process of social and economic restructuring. After the abolition, Suriname welcomed immigrants from various parts of the world, including laborers from India, Indonesia, and China, who were brought in to replace the enslaved workforce on the plantations. This diversity of origins resulted in a pluralistic and multicultural society, where different traditions coexist and intertwine in a uniquely harmonious way. Suriname's culture reflects this rich and complex history. The festival Keti Koti, meaning the chains have been broken, is celebrated annually on July 1st to commemorate the abolition of slavery. During this vibrant celebration, the streets fill with music, dance, and traditional attire as the population gathers to honor the past and celebrate the hard-won freedom. In addition to Keti Koti, the country boasts a lively cultural calendar. Pagara, for instance, is a year-end event where long sequences of fireworks are set off throughout the streets to ward off evil spirits and welcome the new year. Suriname's carnivals are also vibrant expressions of its local diversity, blending African rhythms, Indian influences, and a Caribbean flair that gives the festivities a unique energy. Architecture and religion in Suriname also tell the story of resilience and coexistence among different peoples. Paramaribo, the capital, is home to Christian churches, Jewish synagogues, Islamic mosques, and Hindu temples, all peacefully coexisting. One of the most striking examples is the Neve Shalom Synagogue and the Kizerstraat Mosque, standing side by side, symbolizing the nation's religious harmony. Despite this rich cultural and historical heritage, Suriname continues to face challenges rooted in its colonial past. The country's economy still relies heavily on the exploitation of natural resources, and opportunities remain limited for much of the population. Nevertheless, the spirit of resistance and the strong cultural identity continue to shape the nation's future. Suriname is more than an unexplored territory in South America. It is the reflection of centuries of struggle for freedom, a proudly preserved cultural heritage, and a people who have transformed adversity into strength. Exploring its history is to understand how resilience can become the foundation of a nation's identity and an example to the world. In the heart of Suriname's dense rainforest, hidden among rivers and impenetrable vegetation, there are communities that maintain a tradition as intriguing as it is controversial: the prohibition of entry to white men. One of the most well-known examples is the village of Dom, where foreigners, especially white visitors, are barred for deep historical and cultural reasons. This restriction is not a whim, but an act of preservation and resistance. During the colonial period, the Dutch enslaved thousands of Africans, subjecting them to unspeakable brutality. Many enslaved individuals fled into the forest, forming autonomous communities known as Maroons, which to this day preserve their traditions, far from external influence. For these groups, the presence of white men is associated with trauma, disease, and misfortune, a living memory of the horrors of colonization, when contact with Europeans brought violence and epidemics that decimated indigenous and African populations. In villages like Dom, local leaders emphasize that the rule is not merely a security measure, but an assertion of autonomy. They believe that interaction with outsiders could disrupt the community's spiritual balance and weaken their cultural identity. Reports from visitors who ignored the prohibition speak of immediate hostility, including threats of violent expulsion, a clear warning that the rule is strictly enforced. This practice, although controversial, reveals a lesser-known Suriname, a country where the colonial past still shapes the present, and where some communities prefer isolation over any risk of repeating history. As the globalized world marches forward, these groups choose to live as their ancestors did, protecting their way of life at all costs. In a hyper-connected world, Suriname reminds us that there are still places where cultural sovereignty takes precedence over external curiosity, and that some doors, no matter how mysterious they may seem, are meant to remain closed. Since colonial times, the Amazon has been the setting for stories about hidden cities filled with gold and unimaginable riches. Among these legends, one of the most famous is that of El Dorado, a supposed kingdom covered in gold that fascinated European conquerors and drove them to undertake perilous expeditions into the heart of the jungle. Suriname, with its vast rainforest and limited access, became one of the targets of this relentless quest. The belief in the existence of El Dorado was born from accounts by indigenous peoples, who spoke of a golden king, a ruler who covered his body with gold dust and performed rituals in sacred lakes. Driven by the promise of immense wealth, adventurers and explorers such as Walter Raleigh and Francisco de Orellana traversed the region, facing natural dangers and hostile tribes, but never finding the legendary city. Although El Dorado remained a myth, the obsession with gold left deep marks on Suriname. The country holds vast gold deposits, and mining has become one of its most important economic activities. It is estimated that around 70% of Suriname's exports consist of gold, extracted both by licensed companies and illegal prospectors. This unrestrained pursuit of the precious metal has caused significant environmental and social impacts, including deforestation and the contamination of rivers with mercury used in the extraction process. Suriname's rainforest remains a territory full of unresolved mysteries. Many areas are still unexplored, and there are reports from researchers and indigenous people about ancient ruins and stone structures hidden beneath the dense vegetation. These findings suggest that ancient civilizations may have inhabited the region long before the arrival of Europeans. Archaeologists and scientists continue working to uncover these enigmas, but the dense forest and the difficulty of access make expeditions extremely challenging. Moreover, there are indigenous tribes living in isolation within the forest, preserving ancestral traditions and deep knowledge about the land. Some believe that these communities may hold valuable information about sacred sites or even remnants of lost civilizations. For indigenous peoples, the forest is not merely a natural environment. It is a spiritual and historical space, where every river, mountain, and cave carries profound meaning. The truth is that Suriname still holds secrets science has yet to fully explain. Despite all the legends and theories, Suriname's greatest treasure may not be the gold hidden beneath its soil, but rather its biodiversity, cultural richness, and fascinating history. Whether through tales of El Dorado, mysterious ruins, or the preserved knowledge of indigenous tribes, Suriname's rainforest continues to attract curious explorers and researchers who dream of uncovering its mysteries. Perhaps in the end, Suriname's true wealth lies in the fact that it remains one of the last unexplored and surprise-filled territories on our planet. But gold is not the only secret the forest holds. It is believed that there are still tribes completely isolated from civilization, living self-sufficiently and following ancestral traditions. This reality makes Suriname one of the last refuges of humanity untouched by the modern world. Suriname, despite its cultural and environmental wealth, faces significant challenges that limit its development, while also offering unique opportunities that could boost its economy and improve its quality of life. The country's geography, marked by an extensive tropical rainforest and limited infrastructure, directly influences its economy and trade relations. One of Suriname's main challenges is its dependence on the extraction of natural resources. Gold mining accounts for about 70% of the country's exports, making the economy highly vulnerable to fluctuations in the international market. Moreover, gold extraction, often carried out illegally, causes serious environmental impacts such as deforestation and the contamination of rivers with mercury. Finding a balance between economic growth and environmental preservation is one of the greatest dilemmas the country faces. Another factor hindering development is the precarious infrastructure. Much of the territory is inaccessible by road, forcing people to rely on boats or planes to travel. This increases the cost of transporting goods and limits access to basic services such as healthcare and education, especially for more isolated communities. Investment in infrastructure, such as highways and telecommunications, is essential to better integrate the country and foster economic growth. However, Suriname also presents promising opportunities. Sustainable tourism is one area with great expansion potential. With its vast tropical forests, unique biodiversity, and diverse culture, the country could attract more visitors interested in ecotourism and authentic experiences. Destinations like the Central Suriname Nature Reserve, recognized by UNESCO, and the waterfalls of Brownsburg are examples of attractions that could be better promoted to create jobs and stimulate the local economy. In addition to tourism, the agricultural sector could be strengthened to reduce dependency on mining. Suriname has fertile land and a favorable climate for producing tropical crops such as bananas, rice, and cocoa. With investments in technology and infrastructure, agriculture could become a more sustainable source of economic growth and ensure greater food security for the population. Suriname has the potential to grow and become a model of sustainable development in South America. With strategic investments in infrastructure, economic diversification, and environmental conservation, the country can overcome its challenges and secure a more prosperous future for its people. The question remains, will Suriname succeed in balancing its natural wealth with economic progress, or will it continue to be an unexplored and mysterious destination? Still, Suriname stands out as one of the safest and most accessible destinations in South America, with a relatively low cost of living and remarkable hospitality. For those seeking an authentic experience, rich in culture, untouched nature, and historical mysteries, this small country offers an unforgettable journey. Suriname is a land of extremes. On one hand, a nation rich in natural resources, vibrant culture, and unmatched ethnic diversity. On the other, a territory still grappling with structural, economic, and environmental challenges. Its future depends on finding the right balance between sustainably leveraging its resources and preserving its unique identity. Suriname's economy, heavily reliant on gold mining and commodity exports, urgently needs diversification to ensure solid, long-term growth. Sectors like ecotourism and sustainable agriculture offer promising paths forward, but they require investments in infrastructure and technology. If well planned, these sectors could not only strengthen the economy but also generate jobs and improve the population's quality of life. Tourism, in particular, could be a game changer for the country. With untouched natural landscapes, unique biodiversity, and a fascinating culture, Suriname has all the ingredients to become a sought-after destination for travelers worldwide. However, the lack of infrastructure and tourism promotion has prevented the country from reaching its full potential. If the government and private investors recognize this opportunity, Suriname could become a reference point for ecotourism in South America. The environmental factor is also crucial to the country's future. With 90% of its territory covered by tropical rainforests, Suriname plays a vital role in preserving the global ecological balance. Conservation policies combined with sustainable development models could ensure that the country's natural wealth becomes a positive asset rather than a target for exploitation. The real challenge will be finding a middle ground between economic growth and environmental preservation. Infrastructure improvements are another essential issue. The lack of roads and efficient transportation limits access to many parts of the country, hindering trade, tourism, and even social development. Investing in better infrastructure could facilitate economic growth and improve living conditions, especially for isolated communities. Globally, Suriname remains little known, but its role in geopolitics could grow in the coming years. Recent offshore oil discoveries could position the country strategically in the global energy market, but they also bring major challenges regarding resource management. Experience from other countries shows that oil exploration can either drive prosperity or create instability, depending on how revenues are handled. In the end, Suriname faces a choice: remain a mysterious, little-explored, and economically unstable nation, or invest in its potential and become a shining example of sustainable development in South America. The path will not be easy, but the opportunities are real. It's up to the government, investors, and the Surinamese people themselves to decide which direction to take. And now, we want to hear from you. Had you heard of Suriname before? What intrigued you the most about this fascinating country? Share this content so more people can discover this hidden gem of our planet. We hope this journey through the mysteries of Suriname was as exciting for you as it was for us. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a like and a comment, It's the best way to support us in continuing to bring you the best content every week. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't wait any longer. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the fascinating videos we produce every week. Like this next one you can watch now to discover one of the most incredible places on Earth. Don't miss out and come explore the wonders that Suriname and many other places have to offer.